Hi, Ivan. Thanks for taking the time to be on our show. So why don't you start by telling our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah, happy to. Currently 55. I've led a very active life. Joined the military at 17,
Wow.
and from 17 to 40 was just go, 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 pretty much. Retired, after 20 years of service, and during that time, I accumulated a few miles on the chassis.
On your body, yeah.
Yeah. So, on top of that sort of active lifestyle, I always had active pursuits, right? So I was mountain biking, or when I could, back when I still could, I would jog. I love to jog, weightlifting, all kinds of different things, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I started encountering all of these limitations in my body through whether it was things that happened to me while I was in the military, or degenerative kinds of things that just happen, as you get older, or a combination of both of those. And so, around the age of, I guess, my mid 30s, I really started to notice, certain restrictions. I suffered injuries along the way, like blown discs, and so those started putting limitations on what I could do. And so I was in treatment during my time in the military for a lot of different things, mostly related to the spine, and then that carried over once I retired. And so I bounced around a bunch of different providers, all doing good things.
Sure.
So I guess 15 years now I've been out of the military, and during that time, I'd say every year that I've been in some form of physical therapy. So I'll just pause there.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your sciatica issues, maybe your knee issues. How were things before you started working with us?
Yeah, for sure. So the knee stuff, unfortunately, I tore my meniscus in training while I was in the military, and so they did kind of like the old school surgery. They just took it all out. And then for the sciatica, I've had a chance to kind of think about it, and I think that started to manifest in my 30s, and I just didn't know what it was. I just attributed it to lower back pain.
Interesting. So you had it for a long time.
I think I've had it for a long time.
Yeah,
but it wasn't referring down. I think, obviously with age and the more stress on the body that I would put it under, it gave more opportunities to flare up. Also, once I got out into the private sector, I was spending a lot more time sitting during the workday, which is not something that I had done, consistently in the military. I was up, I was down, I was here, I was there.
Yeah.
Right. But you go into corporate America, and that's just a lot more of that, whether you're in meetings or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think things like that cumulatively started to give it opportunities to get flared up. And so I had gone to various clinics, but there were so many things that had to be looked at that they were focused on the kind of like, oh, by the way, this is kind of, you need to address this, like.
Yeah.
And so those things were kind of like precursors, I think, to finally getting here. And by the time I found you, I was in a pretty bad state as far as my sciatica. So I was addressing various things dealing with like my body, skeletal muscular issues, and I felt pretty good about that progress.
Yeah.
But the sciatica in particular was kind of like an unresolved issue.
Sure. And then how have things changed with your sciatica since you started working with us?
Well, it's been a dramatic improvement. And working with a specialist, I remember when I saw the advertisement in a local paper, and I told my wife, I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I had actually been talking about finding a specialist in sciatica. And then I saw also that you were using these new kind of treatments that were unfamiliar to me. I feel like I was pretty familiar with all the treatments that were available at the time to most of the local PT clinics. And so that was compelling to me. I was willing to just give it a try, and just see what was going to, either it was going to work or it wasn't. As far as it was kind of like my approach to the technology that was being co-implemented along with the modalities that you use to treat sciatica in particular. Right?
Yeah, that's the good thing about like the non-invasive stuff. Just like you said, the worst thing that happens is it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Doesn't usually have a lot of side effects.
Yeah.
So how has shockwave therapy helped you in your recovery with sciatica, also with your knee issues?
Yeah. So I'll start with the sciatica first, and I'll talk about the knee. The sciatica had gotten to the point where it was truly unbearable. I was unable to sleep at night. It reminded me of having my firstborn when you just
sleepless nights.
Sleepless nights. You just reach this level of desperation where you just want rest, right?
Yeah.
And you're just being jolted awake the entire. Or there were hours and hours where I could not go to sleep. And so when I showed up here, I was in extremis, and I was willing to try whatever, and the shockwave. Well, it was two things. It was the treatment therapy,
the McKenzie method.
The McKenzie method first, and then the shockwave helped second. Those two work together. And I don't see I see them as equal players in bringing the symptoms down. Where am I right now? I can do full forward bends. My mobility has improved a lot because of the McKenzie methods. I had a really stiff spine because of all the injuries that I've accumulated over the decades of my life. And so improving the movement of my spine, especially at this age, is hugely important. And I'm really happy that I'm seeing progress along that. Not to mention the fact that I'm sleeping like a baby through the night now.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's such a gift. And what about your knee issues?
Yeah, so that was a just completely unrelated thing, but it was something that was cropping up, in my sports kind of side things that I like to do. I often have to find myself with my heel pressed closely to my butt, like I'm sitting on my heels, kind of like when you see like Japanese people sitting in that traditional method. And it was a really bad pain. I couldn't do that without feeling really intense pain. Nor could I do just basic things like body weight squats. Like beyond a certain point, then it would just be in a lot of pain. And unbelievably, this has really helped me to go from being very far from my heel resting on my butt to really closing the distance. And I can tell with every treatment that I get, I'm getting better. I'm able to just get into position with much, much less pain, to the point where I'm almost pain-free.
I love it. Yeah. What is your favorite part about working with us?
Well, I love working with you. Your front office is great. And really, I think the treatment plan that you put together, every day I see and feel results. Even in between sessions, I come in twice a week. Not everybody maybe can do that, but in between, I have the tools that you give me to treat myself. They're not overly complex. You keep things simple, but they're effective. And I see the progress, and I feel the absence of pain. Yeah. So clearly that all of that is working together.
Yeah, awesome. And what would you say to someone who's on the fence about working with us and has similar kind of issues, has long-standing sciatica?
Don't walk, run. Get on the phone as quickly as possible. You can only benefit from coming here. So I'm so happy that I found you. It was, and I'm so happy with the progress that I've made in a relatively short amount of time, 6 weeks or something, I think, at this point.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your story, Ivan.
Of course, happy to.
Yeah, thank you.